Welcome back. Now, there's news coming in from Washington that the Department of Justice has frozen more than $458 million in corruption proceeds hidden in bank accounts around the world by former Nigerian dictator Sani Abacha and conspirators. A civil forfeiture complaint unsealed today in the United States District Court in the District of Columbia seeks recovery of more than $550 million in connection with the largest kleptocracy forfeiture action brought in the department's history. The restraint of funds announced today includes approximately $313 million in 2 bank accounts in the bailiwick of Jersey and $145 million in 2 bank accounts in France. In addition, 4 investment portfolios and 3 bank accounts in the United Kingdom with an expected value of at least $100 million have also been restrained, but the exact amounts in the accounts will be determined at a later date.
Unveiling the new look of Guinness. Discover a colorful world of more.
And now to sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Well, it's a new dawn for sports in Nigeria as Dr. Tamino Danagogo has been sworn in as the country's sports minister by President Goodluck Jonathan after the removal of Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi from that position. Now, Dr. Danagogo was the executive chairman of Akukutoro local government area, Abonema, from April 2004 to May 2007 in Rivers State. He was then appointed Commissioner for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Community Affairs in November 2008. Sports administrators are stunned by the removal of Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi as the sports minister. Well, Lagos State Commissioner for Sport, Mr. Eniton Oshodi, and NASCOM Chairman Yemi Idowu believes that Mr. Abdullahi was the best sports minister Nigeria ever had and expects the National Sports Commission to continue his developmental programs. A hat-trick by Neymar and a goal each from Oscar and Fernandinho helped Brazil to a comfortable 5-0 win over South Africa in an international friendly played at the FMB Stadium in Soweto. Well, in other friendly matches involving African countries, Guinea beat Iran 2-1. The Desert Foxes of Algeria defeated Slovenia 2-0, while the Pharaohs got the better of Bosnia and Herzegovina by 2-0. Montenegro defeated the Black Stars of Ghana by 1-0, while Congo and Libya played a goalless draw. Also basketball, the Nigeria Basketball Federation, the NBBF, has appointed coach Ayo Bakari as technical director to drive the NBBF's strategic plan aimed at developing and adding value to all its league and programs. And Mr. Bakari is expected to bring additional impetus and experience to the rather difficult job of implementing, supervising and diversifying the various initiatives of the Federation. And that's in the sports news. The news at 10 continues shortly.
Unveiling the new look of Guinness. Discover a colorful world of more.
And to foreign news, Russian and U.S. foreign counterparts have been holding talks in Paris today over the crisis in the Ukraine. The U.S. wants independent observers in the flashpoint region of Crimea and direct talks between Kiev and Moscow, while Russia would probably push forward greater representation for Ukraine's Russian-speaking areas in the Kiev government. The Paris gathering is seen as a chance to test the waters for a dialogue, despite the UK not being optimistic about convincing Russia against its proposed line of action. Amarachi Ubani gives us more in the day's summary of major foreign stories.
The talks already began late afternoon, our time, in attendance were U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Russia has also agreed to an ambassador-level extraordinary meeting with representatives from NATO. Analysts say Russia is unlikely to pull back its forces in Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula, forcing the U.S. and Europe into a more limited strategy of trying to prevent President Putin from making advances elsewhere in the former Soviet Republic. And they also say the purpose of Russia's incursion into Crimea is to obtain greater possible autonomy for the peninsula while still retaining formal Ukrainian jurisdiction over it. While the talks were ongoing, the United States House Committee on Foreign Affairs published a resolution condemning the violation of Ukrainian sovereignty and expressing support for possible sanctions against Russia. In other news, Israel has intercepted a Gaza-bound ship carrying Iranian weapons made in Syria. The Israeli Defense Forces said it had tracked the weapons for several months as they were flown from Damascus to Tehran and then taken to a port in southern Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the shipment was a clandestine operation by Iran and the weapons would have been used against Israel. Now, here in Africa, the fourth witness in Oscar Pistorius' murder trial has revealed in court that the South African athlete was responsible for a weapon being fired at a restaurant last year. He said Mr. Pistorius had apologized and asked the owner of the gun to take the blame, which he agreed to do. Finally, 5 soldiers were killed when fighting broke out in the South Sudanese capital, Juba, over delayed salaries. A new payment system introduced by the government to curb corruption has been in dispute as soldiers are required to receive their wages in person, so the money is not paid into the accounts of ghost employees or those absent from work. And those were the day's major headlines. Back to you.
Thank you, Amarachi. And the main news again. President Goodluck Jonathan today swore in 11 new ministers into his cabinet. And in Washington, the Department of Justice has frozen more than $458 million in corruption proceeds hidden in bank accounts around the world by former Nigerian dictator Sani Abacha and conspirators. It's said to be the largest kleptocracy forfeiture action brought in the department's history. And that brings us to the end of our bulletin for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep your date again tomorrow. I'm Bimbo Oluede. Bye for now.